In Chapter 10, pay close attention to Mother and Daddy and what they're arguing about. The title behind the grin has to do with David, Marley's brother. At the end of the chapter, he's grinning, and she explains his grin, and then also talks about something he says that makes her feel really good. Mother and Daddy started arguing again on Sunday. Mother was frying hamburgers on the stove when she said to Daddy, "States do have rights, you know. Those politicians in Washington can't be telling us how to run our schools." Daddy bit his lip. He was grating carrots so briskly I was afraid he would find fingers in the salad. The schools have already been closed almost 2 weeks. The students are the ones who are suffering. "If the governor gives in, what's next?" Mother asked. "Negroes at the swimming pool?" Daddy shrugged. "They're already sitting at the front of the bus, and you still managed to find a seat." "Richard!" "It's not right to keep the schools closed, Maureen, and you know it." At that moment, the back door flew open and David burst in. I squealed and dropped the bowl of potatoes I was mashing. "You came home." "Hi, Marley," said David, and he gave me such a big hug he picked me up off the ground. David always wore a dazzling smile, which transformed him from a nice-looking guy into a movie star. "Classes going well?" asked Daddy. "Never better," said David, but his eye twitched just like Daddy's did when he was lying. He popped a tomato from the salad into his mouth. "Where's Judy?" "Hi, David," said Judy, coming into the room. "Hey, sis," David grinned. "Wanted to tell you the university's going to offer correspondence classes to all the kids without school." He took a spoon and swiped a bit of mashed potato. "Needs more salt," he told me. Then to Judy, "Thought you might be interested." "Correspondence classes?" asked Judy. "Yeah," said David. "They give you a list of assignments and you send in your work. The professor grades them and sends you the tests and you send it back and who's going to help me if I don't understand something?" asked Judy. "I can help you, sweetie," said Mother. "Yeah, if it's English or history," said Judy. "But what if it's chemistry?" "If it's chemistry, I'm sure one of my colleagues in the science department would be glad to help you. In fact, maybe we could organize study groups for you and Margaret, at least until... And Marley could help you with the math," David teased. "Wonderful," said Judy as she carried the plates into the dining room. "I get to be tutored by my mother and my little sister." Daddy laughed. It was a great dinner, even if the burgers were dry and the potatoes were salty and the salad didn't have any tomatoes because David had swiped them all. The whole family was together, and for an hour, that was enough. After dinner, I pulled David into my room. "So how's it really going?" I asked. "What?" "Your classes." "Oh, great." David picked at a piece of lint on his sweater. "Come on, David." "What?" "I can tell you're lying." He looked around, though there was no one else in the room with us. Then he sighed and sat down on the bed. "Promise you won't tell Mother and Daddy?" "Course not." "It's awful, all those math classes I signed up for. Well, I don't have the foggiest idea what's going on. The professor's talking in the lecture hall, and it's like he's speaking another language." That sounded awful. I mean, David has never been as naturally good at math as me. I'm not bragging, it's just a fact. But we'd had so much fun talking about all the things we were going to invent together. He was the one who'd explain what an engineer was and how they built things, like spaceships and satellites. David shook his head. "If you were there, I bet you'd understand." "Me?" I asked. "No way." "Yeah, Marley, I think you would." Then we heard Daddy calling and David stood up. "Bye, sis," he said. "It's up to you now to beat those Soviets." He pasted his usual grin back on. "Now remember, not a word to Mother." I nodded. That night, I lay in bed wondering how many other times David had grinned and fooled me too, even though he'd felt awful inside. The idea that my big brother sometimes felt not good enough was strange and a bit scary. But the idea that he thought I'd be able to do those math classes, maybe work on a spaceship someday, well, That made me feel awful good.